Three, two, one. Oh my God. Well, we made it. Hello, Lori. Hello, everybody. I think I have veins popping out from my head trying to figure that one out. Be Live TV doesn't even know what happened there, so we'll find out later. So welcome, Lori Ference, the 100-mile ultra marathoner.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is, for everybody to know, this is a part of the spontaneous interview series that I'm doing in the upSwing summer camp, the virtual summer camp. So you'll be seeing these interviews show up on my main Facebook page periodically. I have some really cool ones coming up as well. But today, this is about Lori Ference, and I'm going to read a little bit about her. Lori is a professional intuitive who guides leaders and visionaries through the transformational change. She supports those venturing into unknown territory in their lives and businesses as an advisor and strategic project director. She is the producer and host of Leaders Call to Adventure, which features the inspiring stories of those who have taken the road less traveled. Very cool. As an athlete, she embraces the spirit of adventure and has recently completed a 100-mile ultra marathon, which we're going to hear about. And you can find out more about Lori and her work at leaderscalltoadventure.com. And we will repeat that and put that in the feed for later. But Lori, okay, cool. I know you just completed this race, right? When did you do it? This last weekend?
This last weekend, yeah. Starting at 5 a.m. on Saturday and finishing at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. So 30 and a half hours out in the woods in the dark. I saw 2 sunrises. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, wait, okay, so you got to feed us a little. So the topic that we're talking about here is perseverance. And when I started into this one yesterday on the summer camp, I thought, oh my God, there's one person on the planet I know right now that has to be an expert at perseverance. So talk to us, tell us what in the world, how did you get into this ultra marathoning thing? And what was this race like for you? It was your first one. Yeah.
It's the old adage, every journey starts with a single step, right? I got into this whole thing after I turned 40. I wanted to complete a couple of things on the bucket list. And so I started doing triathlons, did a couple of those, and then I just kept running. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a marathon. And my body wasn't feeling too good on the road, pounding on the road. So I started running on the trails. And then I discovered this whole sport that I didn't know about called ultra running. And I found that I could run longer on the trails and that it was easier on my body and that I got stronger and stronger and stronger and could run for longer and longer and longer. So about 3 years ago now, I thought, okay, now I'm finally going to cross this item off my list. And so I entered because in the trail and ultra world, the marathon distance isn't as popular as a 50-kilometer distance. And so I did my first 50K race, and it's just been a progression since then. Last year, I ran the entire Bruce Trail in Ontario, which is a 900-kilometer trail. There's a map of it here on my wall. And had worked up my base mileage to kind of get me into the territory where considering doing a 100-mile race would be something that would be possible. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay, like my brain just wants to fry when I think of running 100 miles, right? So what made you think that running 100 miles was a good idea?
Wow. I mean, I didn't really think, it's not something you come to overnight, right? It's like I said, it's a progression. I did a handful of 50K races. That year I did a 50-mile race, and it was hard and it hurt like hell. And I was broken for about a week after that. And I decided, well, I wasn't extremely happy with my time on that race, so I better, train harder and try again. And so last year, that's what I did. I did another 50K race in Ski Hills, and I was really happy with my performance there. And then I did a 50-miler race in New York State and was really much, much happier with my time there. And then I just had this goal to finish the Bruce Trail because it's this gorgeous trail that's in really my backyard, although it stretches for this 900-kilometer stretch, right? So it's my way of being outside. I love this sport. I'm all about adventure and nature, and embracing adventure. And this is a really fun outlet for that, as well as a really great community.
Okay, we'll come back to, I want to talk about the community because I've seen some of your posts and sounds like a really dedicated group of people who love and support each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so, all right, let's just dig right into perseverance. So you decided, right? Which is one of the things.
It's a key word, decided. It's a big word for perseverance.
Yeah, and then you committed, right? And then you persevered. So talk about what perseverance means to you in an experience like that. And I want to hear the gritty details of when you were out on the trail and you were up against yourself and your body's limits.
Absolutely.
What happened here and what happened here?
Yeah, there's a whole, I can see it as a progression now, reflecting on it, different stages of getting through the race and what my mind was doing and what my body was doing. Let's just preface this by saying that the night before my race, you know, they say that you probably won't sleep well the night before an ultramarathon, you know, just nerves and whatever, worried about getting up on time, and I'd have to be at the start line for 4:45, right? So, but I was hoping to get a good, I don't know, solid 6 hours of sleep. And what ended up happening was I only got 2 hours of sleep. And so I was not in a good place to start. I was tired. So I got out on the trail, and I'd say the first, the sun came up. And when the sun came up, I got some energy, right? So it's really amazing the kind of energy we get from the sun. We are animals when it comes down to it, human beings, right? So we can get our energy during the daytime, and then when the night falls, then we start to fall asleep again. Well, I was starting at nighttime, but fortunately there was only about a half an hour of nighttime, right? So I basically stuck to my plan of running on the flats and climbing up the hills and running on the downhills for the most part. We'd have aid stations every 3 to 7 miles out on the course. And at one point we had a loop. So it was about a 27-mile loop for the first 2 loops and 23-mile loop for the second 2 loops. We had an opportunity to leave a drop bag halfway, right? So I had my box of goodies there that I could stop, and if I needed to, change my shoes and my socks and do whatever I needed to take care of myself, including getting down my favorite nutrition if all the food at the aid station wasn't really saying, you know, appealing to my stomach at that point in time. And that sort of thing changed as the race went on. It was a brutally hot day, which is something I didn't expect. The course was way harder than I thought. I've never trained or run on trails that difficult for that period of time. So there was a lot of sort of the unknown coming into the picture, right? So if we're going to talk about perseverance, of course we have to talk about that, right? That we can't really expect what's coming, and things are going to come in, and we've got to just stick to it. We've got to work through it. And for me, that whole process was finding, at first, when it got tough, when it got to say 50 miles halfway through, and I was kind of behind, and I sat down in the chair at the start aid station, and my friend Agnes was just helping me, getting some food for me, and I was sitting in the chair trying to hydrate and change my socks, and was finding it I was getting heat rash on my feet from merino wool and all this stuff. I saw a couple of friends come by. And the one had just finished a 200-mile race 3 weeks ago and asked me how I was doing. And I was feeling so emotionally drained and absolutely exhausted. And I was I was laughing and crying at the same time and just saying I was so effing tired. This is halfway through, right? But seeing them there, it gave me a boost, right? Like having my friends around me and having that energy and knowing that they just run 50 miles, so they were done. But knowing that he had run 200 miles 3 weeks ago, it was like a reminder, you know, I've got this in me. I can do this. I might feel really brutal right now, but I've heard, you know, in ultra, you don't always feel that way till the end, right? You have waves of this. It goes, you know, your body and your mind are basically trying to stop you from crossing over a boundary that you're not familiar with. Right? So that you will have the reptilian brain coming in there and trying to see whatever thoughts it can feed you to get you to stop. And your body will also do that, right? And I knew that, right? So the thing is that I knew that, and so that I could deal with that. And so then my mind would start working towards certain things. Well, I'm going to finish this race. How can I do that? Well, I'm just envisioning getting my buckle at the end. However long this takes me, I'm going to cross the finish line, and I'm going to see that piece of metal. I'm going to be holding that piece of metal. I'm going to feel so happy about that.
Show your buckle.
I'm going to show my buckle. I love this buckle. Very proud and happy about this.
Raise it up a little bit because you can't
buckle.
see.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. Very detailed. I love it. And it's got some weight to it too. So it's nice. Very nice. It's like a trophy. I will cherish it. And anyway, so as I said, physically it was getting very challenging. And so in my mind, I was like, well, how am I going to get through this? Never mind just visioning what I want, because that's part of the process is visualization, right? When we're persevering is remembering, keeping our eyes on the prize. Where are we going towards, right? Second part was, well, I made a commitment, as you said, right? We talk about commitments. I made a commitment. I made a commitment to myself in the training. I've worked up to this. It's taken me really 7 years to get to this point. It took me 6 months of solid 6 days a week training to get to this point, and a lot of sacrifice of time and energy. And so I had to remind myself of what I sacrificed and what my commitment was and why I did that. And I also had to remember that I told several people that were supporting me and that expected me to finish and were sending me all their good juju and, you know, hoping for me and wishing for me and really cheering me on. And I could just feel, you know, that. And I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to go home and tell my kids, oh, I didn't finish. I took this. I haven't seen you for 4 or 5 days. I'm back, but I didn't finish, right? I didn't want that. So that was a good motivator to help me to persevere. That was the first phase, right? And the thoughts change and they morph as you go on, and then your brain tries to do different tricks with you, right? So because then you have to deal with that still, because you're still hurting, you're still tired, and then you're getting nauseous, and then you're super overheated, right? So there's more and more and more coming into the fray. Luckily, I picked up a pacer by accident halfway through the race. I hadn't arranged it, and somebody that was local to the trails was pacing somebody else, and I could hear them behind me. And I was getting energy from their conversation because they were laughing and talking about different things. And it was a good distraction, I guess, you know, instead of kind of going through this, oh, I'm hurting so much, and oh, how many hours, and oh, how many more miles do I have to do? I was listening to them talking about different races and this pacer's, you know, contagious laughter, right? And just really focusing on the experience and seeing the fireflies coming out at night and that sort of thing, and just immersing myself into the experience, right? So that's another way of persevering, is really to focus on now and where you are, and really taking that experience in instead of the thoughts that are swirling in your head, right? Just to try and slow things down and just be where you are.
Gosh, that is so great.
Yeah.
The way you said that, the reptilian brain takes over and tries to tell you all these survival stories, right? Which happens to us all day long if we allow it, because it's there, right?
Yeah.
And now, is that something that you talk about as ultra marathoners? Do you talk about that reptilian brain and how to talk it out of its
I talk about that being in the field that I'm in, right? Personal growth and development, right? But I don't think it's something that ultra people are just tough, right? They develop that, but there's no language really around, because, you know, I haven't run across any other people that are in the kind of self-help personal development field that are also ultra runners. You know, people from all different walks of life, but so far I've only found me in that kind of realm. So maybe it's a different angle, right? It's talking about the reptilian brain. Right. But it definitely, you know, comes into play for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, yesterday I was talking about perseverance, and I was talking about it in terms of masculine approaches to perseverance and feminine approaches to perseverance. Feminine being pacing, you know, pacing yourself and being graceful with it, and masculine being charge ahead and make it happen with force. So when you're an ultra marathoner, do you use both of those, or one or the other? How does that work for you?
Absolutely both. I mean, pacing is a huge part of this. You can't go out and think you're going to put everything that you have into the first part of the race, or you won't finish. You have to do the distance and know what your body can handle for that period of time. And I didn't know. It was completely unknown territory. So what you're saying about the feminine, absolutely, absolutely. There's no way to approach an ultra without that. But as I was saying before, there's this process of, of your thoughts and how they change, and how you get through this and what happens in your mind. And I would have to say, on my third lap, so my third 23-mile lap, I was doing a lot of walking. And I was probably behind nutritionally, and that's something you have to stay really on top of. You have to make sure you're getting your calories in, because your body can just fail. And when your body starts to, go through that energy loss, then your mind also suffers, right? And then you get into the dark cave of pain, right? And then it's harder. So you have to stay on top of nutrition, hydration, and electrolyte intake, because all of those things can affect your body. So that said, back to the question about masculine versus feminine, third lap was really hard for me because I was depleted, really depleted, and it was dark outside. And, when you get into the dark, right, it's like your body's saying, I'm not supposed to be running. I should be sleeping right now, right? We are animals. We should be sleeping. And it was a struggle, and I was doing a lot of walking and starting to feel sick and things like that. When I got into the aid station for number 3, I'd been talking to my pacer, and I could tell, like, I'd had a kind of an extra long bathroom break, and he wasn't happy with me. There was a few people that had gone by, and he was like, Lori, you can't do this, right? We've got to get going, and encouraging me. And obviously it's huge value having somebody there with you to push you through and to, hold the energy when you're just falling apart. But I felt in that moment that he told me that, it's true. I am wasting time. And when I got back to the aid station, I knew that he was going to try and hustle me through there. And I had a little chat with myself. And I basically said, there's this masculine part coming in. I came here to finish this race, and I'm going to do it now. This is it. There's no other alternative. There's no other option. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to come in after the deadline. I'm going to come in before the 32-hour cutoff, and I'm going to get it. And that was a firm decision. A firm decision. And after I set out on that loop, I picked up my pace. I cut off an hour and 37 minutes off my time from the previous loop. That's significant, right? Because you're slowing down.
You got a second win.
Yeah, I got a second win, but it was coming from that sheer decision and sheer will. But then my mind, when I got to that point of, like, I decided in that very masculine sort of way, I think I created, like, a platform for the feminine sort of holding to come in. And then my mind quieted. It was very meditative. I knew I had that goal on my mind. I knew what I had to do, and I just stopped talking, and I just ran, and I ran as hard as I could where I could. And when I needed to stop in the aid station, I just mentally, calculated what is going to sit the best in my stomach, and I got to get something down. And if I feel like I can't get it down, I have to get something down anyway. And if I throw up, then I have to try and get something down again, because if I don't get those calories in, I'm not finishing. But that sort of energy was with me for the rest of that lap. It really carried me through. It was just my sheer quiet determination and decision to finish.
Okay, I really, and we're going to wrap this up, and I really love the fact that you used both the masculine and feminine in your experience, and that what you ended with was feminine. Because you would think that at the end of a 100-mile run, you would be pushing and just, something else would be going on. But what you're saying is literally you went into a graceful flow with the universe supporting you to finish. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not to say that I wasn't hurting. I was, right? And my body was complaining, but I was going to finish.
Yeah.
And I was going to do whatever it took to finish, right? So I wasn't going to do anything to harm myself. I was going to watch carefully where I was stepping so that I wouldn't trip and fall. And I was going to make sure that I was doing those self-care things that were super duper important to get me through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I know you're in recovery from everything.
Yeah.
And I just have to tell a little story before we hang up and share all of your good information. That Lori happened to be the first person that saw the upSwing book material and helped me make the decision to write it. So thank you very much, because look what happened.
Yeah, here we are.
Right?
Yep.
From, let's see, when was that? February? Yeah.
Oh, a few months ago.
Right? We were just like, you think this could be a book? Maybe. I don't know.
Stuff in there, Tammy.
Thank you so much. And now, in closing, people can reach you. Will you just give people the information, and then I will make sure that the links are also attached in, hopefully, to this video.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, leaderscalltoadventure.com, and check me out there. And I'd love it if you subscribe to my podcast in iTunes. You can just search for Leaders Call to Adventure. If you're an Android fan, you can find it on Stitcher as well. That's
okay. Yeah. And you do podcasting interviews with really incredible people, so there's more stories to come on all these things that make us incredible human beings. Absolutely. You are awesome. I know that, we go through life and it looks like you found the thing that really takes you to the top. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today, Lori. Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.